Today's meeting of the G7 proved, ultimately, to be inconclusive. The chief diplomats from the Group of Seven, which is composed of the United States, Britain, Canada, France, Italy, Germany, and Japan, along with a representative of the EU, met in the Italian city of Lucca in Tuscany to answer questions about the main global security concerns of the times. The primary topic on the table was the chemical attack on the Syrian town of Khan Sheikhoun. The United States and Britain have directly accused Syrian President Bashar al-Assad of launching the chemical attack, and the U.S. has responded militarily.
Well, you know, I think the Russians need a way out and a way forward. And if I think about the position of Vladimir Putin now, he's toxifying the reputation of Russia by his continual association with a guy who has flagrantly poisoned his own people. And I think the world can see this. The evidence, by the way, is overwhelming. You should look at the evidence for what happened the other day. It is absolutely conclusive. And so what we're trying to do is to give Rex Tillerson the clearest possible mandate from us as the West, the UK, all our allies here, to say to the Russians, this is your choice. Stick with that guy, stick with that tyrant, or work with us to find a better solution.
The British Foreign Minister and the American Secretary of State pushed for additional sanctions against both Syria and Russia. The other members of the summit could not reach a consensus on how to act. They instead opted for a more diplomatic tone with Russia in order to convince Putin to abandon his alliance with the Assad regime. The prevailing position is very similar to the position of Italy, for which I am very happy, which is that we need dialogue with Russia, avoid pushing Russia into a corner, while also asking Putin to claim back the credit which has been granted to Assad thus far. We think the Russians have all the power to be able to put pressure on Assad and to make him respect, first of all, the commitments made towards a ceasefire. Though not as central to the meeting, the participants also spoke about the conflict in Libya. While no concrete resolutions were made, the G7, and especially Italy, pushed the United States to take an active role in keeping the peace in the North African nation. Yet another inconclusive part of the summit involved climate change. Most of the G7 wanted to reach some kind of agreement to act against climate change, but the American delegation reportedly shut down that debate. Another interesting development, though not exactly a policy discussion, was Secretary of State Rex Tillerson's insistence that Europe take more responsibility for Ukraine, with an added suggestion that America would be less active both in regards to Kiev, but also globally. At some point, the U.S. Secretary of State said, "But what is the point of the American taxpayers in taking an interest in Ukraine, aside from the general principles? Isn't it up to Europe to take its responsibilities?" I replied very clearly that Europe is taking its responsibilities. It has accepted sanctions. These sanctions are still ongoing because Europe does not accept that the borders set after the Second World War can be changed. It does not accept that one state can allow itself to annex a bit of another state, because it is Pandora's box if we let it happen and turn a blind eye to it. Tillerson has since left Italy and has landed in Moscow to begin talks with the Russian government in order to work out a solution to the problem of the Syrian chemical weapon attacks. He is arriving in the midst of Russia taking an increasingly hard line in support of the Assad regime.